But one example that you really go into in depth in both The Genius of Birds and The Bird Way are the example of bowerbirds. For example, you have 19 bowerbird species, 15 of them build bowers, which kind of raises the question what the other 4 are playing at and why they get to be called bowerbirds, but that's a whole other issue. But bowerbirds are known for building these really elaborate bowers, and they decorate them in such a way that actually implies an aesthetic sensibility and, in a way, kind of taste, right? What can you tell us about bowerbirds?
Yeah, so males build bowers to woo females, and they're often little archways or other structures that are made of sticks, and they're often very symmetrical, beautifully crafted, and they're adorned usually with an array of colorful or shiny objects. And so female bowerbirds, they move between the different bowers to see whose is best. And they're very, very picky. And they prefer males that craft really superb, symmetrical bowers. And they like lots and lots of decorations. So males are sometimes very unscrupulous about how they get their decorations. They'll steal them from neighboring bowers or raid picnic sites, But each species of bowerbird has its preferred kind of ornament. So, for instance, satin bowerbirds love blue objects, and great bowerbirds like green and white things like stones and bones and bleached snail shells, that kind of thing. Spotted bowerbirds like shiny things. So I found a bower in Eastern Australia that was filled with little pieces of green glass, little screws, bits of jewelry, and the center of the bower had a pile of clear glass marbles. Where this bird had found them, I have no idea. But and another spotted bowerbird built its bower near the house of a stained glass artist. And this bower was filled with little shards of stained glass that the bird had arranged by color. So it was laid out just like a mosaic. Really quite amazing. And sometimes when people look at these bowers, they think, oh, what an amazing nest. Well, they are not nests. They're these theaters for seduction. And when the female appears, she usually stands inside the bower, inside this little archway, and she watches this wild performance that the male puts on. And, he flares his wings and he sort of bulges his eyes and he runs back and forth across his platform and he'll pick up his objects and, toss them around. And he does these crazy imitations. So he's a really good mimic. He'll do kookaburras and cockatoos and all kinds of things. And meanwhile, the female, so she's sitting in her little bower, and she's judging all this with a highly critical eye. And this is what's amazing, is that she's comparing his performance in her mind with the performance of other males that she's seen at other bowers. And really only the best bower, the best performance will win a mating. And that capacity to hold in mind and compare seems to me just an amazing cognitive mental ability that's pretty staggering.
Absolutely. And the males as well. It basically amounts to kind of artistic talent, as you point out in the book. They don't just throw this stuff together. It's color coordinated. There's examples of great bowerbirds arranging objects to create an illusion of forced perspective that makes them appear bigger. That's incredible.
It really is incredible. And there's some examples of the birds that they will paint the inside of their bower a particular color, and it actually affects, they use, plant material, but it affects the way that the female sees what she's looking at. It affects her color perception. And, it's just an amazing ability. And, the question of why we perceive as beautiful the things that they perceive as beautiful is a really interesting one. But it is clearly, there's some kind of real, very powerful aesthetic sense going on.
One thing is that humans by nature, we are, we order, we classify everything, short people, tall people, etc. And if an animal is doing this, we really connect immediately. And I was wondering if you know a little bit more, Jennifer, about the take on the female. Like the females evaluate, a few bowers, and then they decide. This is basically what happens when they choose. But do the females have the capacity, the will of not, like mating with this guy that is the best because there might be a best? Like, I'm going to take my time and check on more males in the, neighborhood, and then I will do my, numbers, and okay, I'm going to go with Charlie, or I'm going to go with Bill. Is this happening? I mean, this is pretty advanced.
Yeah, this is happening. And it's not based on one visit. They will revisit different bowers, and they spend a lot of time making this decision. It's a really important one. And they don't just happen on the first good bower.
Yeah, it's true love. It's not just a beer. I mean,
well,
it's really
good,
intelligent. I mean,
it's good bling is what they're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely.